What is up, YouTube? I'm Devon DaVinci, leader of the Renaissance Crew, and you're watching DaVinci Reacts. Today I have a video that is very interesting. I saw it on my feed and I had to do a reaction to it because this, I grew up in a time when, multiplayer games only consisted of playing against the person that was sitting on the couch next to you. And obviously the gaming world has changed since online and things like that became the norm. So, even though you know that there are certain moves in fighting games, for example, which this video is about, there are unwritten rules to fighting games. Online is kind of blurred those lines because now it's okay, somebody's doing a strategy, you got to figure out how to stop it. Whereas back in the day, you can talk to the person next to you hey, stop doing that move, you're cheesing, or something like that, and it's that world for me has kind of disappeared because a lot of these strategies that are considered dirty moves are now in the esports world are considered proper strategy, like spamming projectiles in fighting games. Back in the day, that would lead to a fight, like stop throwing fireballs, fight. Or doing the same move over and over and over again. It would cause tension because you're people would consider it cheating. Oh, you got me locked in the corner. Let me out of the corner. See what happens. See what happens. Let me out of the corner. Whereas nowadays it's no, this is a strategy. You can't get out of the corner. That's your problem. Learn to get out of the corner. You can't avoid these projectiles. Your problem. Learn to avoid the projectiles, which is smart. It works, but I just miss the pettiness of back in the day with Super Nintendo and PlayStation and stuff like that. But let's jump into this, see what it has to offer. This video is the top 10 dirtiest fighting game moves nobody likes. This video was done by Game Ranks. I will have a link for their channel at the end of this video, right around here. Before we start this video, I want to let you guys know that the original video is in the description box in a link. Click on it. I suggest you open it in a new window. Put the video on mute and play the video so that it's running in the background while you're watching this. By the time my video ends, their video will have ended and you have given both of us a view. That way both of us can get ad revenue. If you want to watch it twice again, like I said, the link is right there. If you're a YouTuber and you do reactions and you want to react to the video yourself, the link is right there, because I know sometimes it can be tough trying to find original videos because so many people will do a reaction to a video that when you look up the video, you'll get nothing but reactions. So if you want the original link, I got you covered. It's in the description box down below. Let's check this out and see what it has to offer. I already can imagine spamming fireballs.
Fighting games are notoriously hard to balance, and because of that, there tends to be certain strategies that are more powerful than others. That is, of course, totally fine. Every game has a certain meta that you're going to get used to if you want to be competitive, but certain strategies, although arguably
spamming uppercuts,
can be no fun to play against. Usually, that's the fault of the game design. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Also, just a quick thing, it depends on what video game you're playing too, because certain games mechanics are more broken than others. Like for example, in Mortal Kombat, doing the leg sweep over and over again was spam, because it's tough to fight against this is old Mortal Kombat games, not the newer ones. The newer ones are more balanced, but the old games, just spamming leg sweep was kind of tough to get around because the game already tracked where you were on the arena. So if you try to jump over them, their bodies will just instantly turn and they'll just start sweeping that direction. And because they're already low, I don't think the game had overheads or anything like that you can use to hit people from above while they're on the ground. So it's while they're ducked down, they're pretty much unstoppable. So yeah, it depends on what game you're playing, because in Street Fighter you can get around that with grabs and stuff.
But still, it sucks to get corner trapped into oblivion or destroyed by a particularly broken character who's just no fun to actually play as. Try and think back to a lazy Sunday when you're playing Mortal Kombat with a friend who just crouch in the corner and uppercut over and over. That's the kind of filthy stuff we're talking about here.
In that situation, you just leg sweep them.
Today on Game Ranks, 10 dirty moves in fighting games that nobody likes. Starting off at number 10, Ryu's Hadouken spamming in Street Fighter 2. You know what we're talking about here. Start the match, get pelted with non-stop Hadoukens. Are they going to stop anytime soon? No, they're just going to keep chipping away at your health until you're dead. If you have younger siblings who are capable at video games, however not mature enough to appreciate that actual strategy matters, you've played this match a million times. Because it's easy and it's annoying, but it's often really, really effective.
That's funny, because back in the day, you would do that. If somebody did these strategies, you would try to make it seem like they're the ones that suck, even though you're the one that's getting your ass handed to you. Oh, you have to do that move because you can't fight me just normally. You got to do that stupid strategy in order to win. Like, you can't play. You don't know how to play. You don't know how to use actual strategy. All you can do is spam moves. And it's like, that is a strategy. If you think about it, that is a strategy. It's just that you would hope they wouldn't see that and would listen to you and go, oh, yeah, I'm kind of cheating in a way. And you try to hope that they would stop it so you can gain the advantage again. But, yeah, that was the original gaslighting back in the day.
Street Fighter II might have one of the earliest examples of Gyo throwing infinite Hadoukens. But this strat never really went away. Just look at Injustice 2 with the Deadshot spam, or really any Smash game where Samus players just stand near a ledge and spam missiles and charge beams. Nobody likes it, but if it works, then it works, you know? Now don't take this the wrong way. We're not saying all uses of ranged attacks are bad. It's just dirty when you're fighting and that's all they do. Even when it proves completely useless and for whatever reason they still keep doing it, that's when it goes from being an annoying but effective strategy to just being an unfun and boring fight. Out of all the dirty moves a player can pull in a fighting game, ranged attack spam is probably one of the most divisive too. Some people hate it, some people stand by it, but whenever people use it in place of any other moves, it gets annoying and fast.
You must defeat Shenlong to stand a chance. Translation
Number
error.
9, Katana's Fan Dance Infinite from Mortal Kombat
led to
2.
a lot of...
Really, most of the dirty moves on this list are the fault of programming, not necessarily the player. Sure, people can do annoying things in any multiplayer game to make it less fun for everyone, but it's kind of the job of game makers to try and balance things so that those unfun things aren't in the game in the first place. And that brings us to one of the bigger programming failures on this entire list, the infinite combo.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of games have infinite combos, and usually they require a lot of setup with absolutely expert timing to be able to pull off. And I'm not necessarily talking about those. No, I'm talking about like really lame, easy infinites that only require a passing understanding of the game mechanics to be able to pull off. Like, oh, I don't know, maybe Katana's Fan Lift Infinite from Mortal Kombat 2. All you have to do is get into the corner, jump over your opponent, kick him, hit him with the fan lift, and then high punch away. If you're caught in this, there's literally nothing you can do but wait out the match. Nowadays, we've got balancing mechanics like combo breakers that makes these easy infinites much less common, but they still do pop up from time to time, and they always suck when you get caught in one, especially when they're this easy. At number 8 is Kirby's Stone Attack from Smash Ultimate. Kirby's always been newbie-friendly, and when you consider that Smash is probably one of the more newbie-friendly fighting game series out there, but sometimes that ease of use can lead to some really boring, dirty strategies employed by people not used to the game. I am talking, of course, about the ultimate Smash newbie strategy of floating in the air and constantly using Kirby's Stone Attack. This one isn't on the list because it's so effective, it's on here because it just sucks the life out of any match you see it in. It doesn't take too much to start getting annoyed with people playing keep away in a fighting game, like especially one like Smash Brothers where they make it easy to do. Like Kirby's gentle little float doesn't look very effective, but when you're in a 4-player Smash, it's pretty easy to lose track of the pink little blob in the chaos. It's even worse when you're one-on-one and your opponent just won't fight you and only attempts to attack with an ability that gives them super armor. Of course, they're still vulnerable when they change back to normal, so it's not that effective, but it's really, really boring. Of all the dirty moves on the list, this is the one you barely need to know what a fighting game is to even pull off. So it may not even be intentionally dirty, but it's dirty as hell nonetheless. And number 7 is Noob Saibot's Teleport Grab in Mortal Kombat 9. Teleport attacks in Mortal Kombat are always annoying. I know they're kind of a staple of the franchise at this point, but I think they've always sucked to get hit by, especially after you realize how easy they are to block, because you don't necessarily do it. They're fast, They're hard to read because, well, duh, your opponent teleports.
The Shokun's
and a lot of them
teleports
seem
were
to have
always kind of
priority
broken.
over pretty much everything. Like I said, the only saving grace is that if you know it is coming, all you really have to do is block. But what happens when you can't block? Enter Noob Saibot, who is already pretty annoying with the teleporting and the shadow cloning, but the worst move in his arsenal is the teleport grab. It comes out of nowhere, it's blisteringly fast, and worst of all, if he hits you with his block disabling projectile, then that's it. There's basically nothing you can do. You're gonna take some damage. It's a pretty small amount of damage, sure, but the less damage it does, the more they're gonna spam it. So get used to seeing this.
Noob Saibot win.
That one doesn't seem like it's that bad of taking advantage of the system, because from what it looks like, after you do the slam, the blocking disabled effect the other player has goes away, so you have to do it again. So as long as you're avoiding that projectile, you should be able to get around it and not let them do the teleport constantly. But I'm sure there's probably more to it. It might not go into it, but it seems like this one is the most reasonable of the ones on here so far.
And number 6 is playing as Idol in Killer Instinct. I'm going to use this as a catch-all for the supremely annoying strategy of picking the overpowered boss characters in fighting games. Like, these days, boss characters are generally on the level as the rest of the cast when you play as them, but back in the day, ridiculously overpowered characters like Akuma and Rugal were unchanged from their boss incarnations. Instead, the game just made it so they had to put in a secret code, unlock, or whatever. Now, playing as an overpowered character isn't so bad on its own, really. It's only really a dirty move when you decide to make them your main. They were not meant to be fair. The only reason they're playable is as a fun bonus, so playing them like they're a serious character is just really lame. And that brings us to Idol, the goofy two-headed Cyclops from the original Killer Instinct. The weird thing about his boss incarnation is that he's a weirdly passive boss, and his attacks don't really look that bad, but put in a secret code at the start of a match and, well, just see what happens. He doesn't really have a lot of attacks. He's kind of slow and even a little janky, but he's just insanely overpowered. Idol is, to me, the ultimate example of the overpowered playable boss character. They're fun to screw around with, but don't keep picking them. They really just suck to fight against. At number 5, Zangief's spinning pile driver from the Street Fighter series. Yeah, we all love Zangief. Show the clip of him dancing with Gorbachev, blah, blah, blah. But when your friend finally figured out how to do the full circle motion to pull off his move, yeah, you knew things were gonna suck for a while. The spinning pile driver is incredibly damaging and has priority over a lot of other attacks, and it has way longer range than it looks, or maybe even should have. Here's the thing, Zangief in Street Fighter 2 wasn't actually that good competitively. He was the only character without a ranged attack of any kind. And
I always imagined that Zangief's grab attack, especially the more damaging ones, required a lot of like button pressing, which is why I never really played with him. And I assumed that, like, I guess if you dedicate enough time, you can become great with it. Or who knows, maybe I'm forgetting something and it wasn't that demanding of input that you have to put in. Like, I remember for Jax, for example, in Mortal Kombat, he has a lot of grab attacks, and his attacks required a lot of button pressing. So maybe I'm associating him with Zangief, but usually the grapplers, their attacks require a lot of button pressing, and it does do a lot of damage, but you got to have some dexterity on you, otherwise it's like you're going to be playing with pretty much a normal guy.
he was super slow.
Maybe even worse.
But still, getting hit by the spinning pile driver is the worst, especially because, well, that's basically his moveset in Street Fighter 2. Like, he's got the spinning lariat and he's got the pile driver. Past Street Fighter 2, Zangief's become a much better all-around character, but it's still, like, the worst thing to get hit by. Beware the spinning pile driver. At number 4, Bob's Coop Chop from Tekken 6. There's a reason fighters called Bob the perfect fighter in Tekken 6. He's just insanely good. He's blisteringly fast, easy to play as, and does incredible damage with his hard-to-read combos. There's actually a lot of dirty stuff going on with Bob, but probably his worst, most annoying attack is the Coop Chop. It's neutral, so he can easily follow it up with a high damage combo, and if you try to sidestep him, he'll, well, just stop you dead in your tracks. Tekken is a game about pokes, those short-range, fast but weak attacks that you can use to test your opponent's defenses, and Bob has some really good ones. In fact, he's really got good everythings. Getting poked to death in a fighting game sucks, but getting beat by a guy who's more ball than man is even worse. It doesn't help that he's basically a joke character the developers made strong because they thought it would be funny. I mean, seriously, that's genuinely what Bob is. Don't believe me? Look it up.
Well, you have to show Chris Farley, though.
At number 3, Astaroth's Axe Swing from Soul Calibur 4. Here is one of the most annoying strategies in a Soul Calibur game. Pick Astaroth, then pick one of the small arenas, then just start swinging around with the ground sweep attack followed by the axe pound. It's powerful, it's surprisingly fast, but the most annoying part about this is the knockback. Because of Astaroth's crazy reach with his axe, it's really easy to just knock opponents out of the ring for an easy victory. Normally ring outs aren't that annoying, but if any character can abuse the ring out mechanics in a Soul Calibur game, it's Astaroth. Soul Calibur 4's incarnation of the character is arguably the most overpowered of them all, with all the reach his axe provides combined with being surprisingly fast. Later games in the series slowed this monster down considerably, so characters like Nightmare and Siegfried are the new ring-out champions these days, but they're not as overpowered as Astaroth was during his prime. Getting knocked out of the ring in a Soul Calibur game is annoying enough, but having it happen from like halfway across the screen, just dirty.
Go to hell.
At number 2 is Jade's uppercut in Mortal Kombat 11. Of all the things casual fighting game players complain about, uppercut spam is probably second only to fireball spam.
That's interesting because, I mean, if there was going to be characters on a list, Jade from Mortal Kombat 11, I assume was going to be on it, but I thought it would be more so because of her ability to shoot projectiles and her ability to make herself immune to getting hit by projectiles. So she can go all the way to the end of this like screen and just start spamming projectiles with that effect on, so that it forces you to have to come close to her. So you're pretty much like going through an obstacle course trying to avoid her projectiles just to try to get close to her.
You know what I'm talking about here, when a player just crouches down, waits for you to jump in, and hits you with an uppercut. Repeat as needed. Street Fighter 2 had it, but pretty much every Mortal Kombat in the 90s had it. And the power of the uppercut is back in a big way in Mortal Kombat 11. And let me just say, yeah, a skilled player can easily bypass uppercut spamming. But that's kind of what makes it dirty. It catches the new or inexperienced players in a trap that they don't really know how to get out of. And out of all the characters in Mortal Kombat 11, Jade probably has the best uppercut of all of them. It's fast, it's got reach, and it's perfect for the cheesy player who just likes to hide and just do all the same moves over and over. Is it fun? No. Is it really that effective? Well, for experienced opponents, no, not really. But is it dirty? Oh yes. And finally, at number 1, Sonya's leg grab from Mortal Kombat. As this list has shown, the Mortal Kombat series has a few broken moves. Yeah. But probably the worst of all is this one for one simple reason. If you manage to hit the leg grab once, it's totally possible to just do the move again as the opponent is getting back up and then just keep doing it until they're dead. That's it. If you can hit just one leg grab, the match is pretty much over. I mean, if that's what you're intending to do for the rest of the match, that's it. It's a really broken move that can just dominate the game full stop. Just be thankful that newer games have get-up mechanics that make this kind of nonsense at least a little harder to pull off. Because back in the day, this is what people had to put up with. Some goober in the arcade hogging the machine, just constantly spamming leg grabs and wasting everyone's time. Time was money back then. What do you think I am, made of quarters? The worst, most dirty moves in fighting games are usually the ones with the lowest skill ceiling and the highest damage potential, and the least amount of risk to use them as well. And yeah, that's basically what this is. I'm not going to call it the dirtiest move in fighting games because really there's a lot out there, but this is a bad one. It's This one ruined a lot of trips to the mall for me as a kid. It's where the arcade was. What are some dirty fighting game moves that drive you nuts when you get spammed by them? Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. And don't forget to enable all notifications. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at FalconTheHero. And we'll see you next time, right here on GameMags.
All right, there you go. I said if you want to show them some support, like I said, we'll have a link for their channel at the end of this video. It'll pop up. Just click on it. It'll take you to their channel. Yeah, I mean, fighting games have always been interesting because back in the day, like I said, you were sitting on a couch with the other person. If they were doing a strategy that you didn't like, you could always physically intimidate them into stopping that strategy. But when games went online, that ability ended. So you couldn't intimidate people anymore because you weren't near them. What the hell were you going to do? So you kind of had to adapt and learn to get better, which sucks because I don't want to get better. I want to intimidate and tell you to stop doing that move so I can beat you, okay? Let me beat you. Or, you know, just like unplug their controller or something for a minute. Because back in those days, when you unplug somebody's controller, the game didn't automatically stop like it does now. Like now it'll give you like a message that says press A to reconnect controllers or something. Back then, you unplug a controller, they just stop moving. So you could like spam, like just spam on them while they're trying to put the damn thing back in the machine. But yeah, multiplayer. Something that was a lot better back in the day, in my opinion. I'm not really an online type of person. Nowadays, online games are a lot more likely to cheat. I know that for a fact because not only have I experienced it, but I have used a couple things myself. Not online against other people, but I've played online games that have cheats involved that I have used. Again, not against other people. Like, for example, I play 2K. There are mods that you can use to help your player become better in 2K. Now, I've never played any park games or any rec games or any online games or anything like that where I could use those against other people. But in my career games where it's just me against the computer, oh, you better believe I'm going to do that. You better believe I'm going to do that. But, yeah, I know that they exist, so I don't even mess with online. I don't want to go through that hassle. But with that being said, I want to say thank you guys for coming through again. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you want to see more of my videos, hit the subscribe button. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to give you the deuces. I look forward to seeing you guys in the future. And until then, I'm Devon DaVinci. You've been enlightened. Deuces.